Alrighty, guys. I'm officially done with PCVR headsets. After years of owning pretty much every major model, I've just decided that they're not worth it anymore. In this video, I want to talk about exactly why PCVR has lost its appeal for me, why standalone headsets like the Quest 3 are probably the future, and why cables might just be the reason that PCVR is dying. So stick around. Let's start with what used to be PCVR's biggest selling point: graphics and immersion. 5 years ago, nothing really even came close to the Valve Index in terms of field of view, refresh rates, and resolution, with the exception of maybe things like the Pimax that promised big specs but never really seemed to deliver on those in any like real practical or mainstream way. I mean, here we are years later and people are still commenting on videos about field of view and talking about the Pimax, but I don't know a single person that's actually owned one. And in nearly 4 years of repairing VR headsets, we've never gotten so much as a request for a repair, a trade-in, or a purchase. So fast forward to now, and the game is just completely changed. Standalone headsets like the Quest 3 are delivering better resolution and field of view without the need for a powerful gaming PC. Let's just break it down. The Valve Index has 1440 by 1600 per eye resolution, 108 degrees field of view. Some sources say that it's 130 degrees field of view, but that's not accurate. And then 80 to 144 hertz refresh rate. The Quest 3, on the other hand, has a 2064 by 2208 resolution per eye, 110 degrees of horizontal field of view, and it's got way better clarity because of the pancake lenses. And then the refresh rate on that is 90 hertz to 100 up to 120 hertz. So at first glance, you're thinking, well, the Valve Index still seems really competitive, right? But in all actuality, the Quest 3's improved pixel density and updated lenses make it a much clearer and more vibrant experience. And it's got the full color pass-through cameras, so your mixed reality applications are way better. I don't even know if there are mixed reality applications for the Valve Index now that I'm thinking about it. One thing that I think a lot of people really have to take into consideration when purchasing anything is the cost. Cost versus value, or sometimes just raw affordability, is what drives most purchase decisions today, especially with regards to gaming and electronics. Right now, today, because I just checked, the Valve Index is still listed on Steam for $9.99, 5 years after its launch. So it's not budged at all. It's 5-year-old tech that's still the same price it was 5 years ago. And it's not even consistently in stock. It's not in stock right now. I don't know if it has been recently. If you know, leave me a comment. So if you wanted to buy one right now, brand new off of Steam, you would have to piece it together from Steam's store, and you'd buy like the headset for $499. You could get the controllers for $279 for the pair, and then each base station's $149. So in total, the headset would cost you about $1,077 before tax, and you'd still need a gaming PC to run it. So add anywhere between $600 and $2,000 to that, depending on your build and whether or not you built it yourself, what your specs are. So you're easily looking at anywhere between $1,500 and $3,000 for the complete setup. Meanwhile, the Quest 3 costs about $499 for the 512 gigabyte model now, because Meta just lowered that. And then you add a USB-C cable for like, what, $20, $30, and now you've got access to Steam VR's library if you want it. So for less than $550, you've got a headset that rivals and in some ways surpasses the Valve Index. Why would you spend 3 to 4 times more for PCVR when standalone gives you everything that you need? Which does bring me to my next point about the games and the libraries. Let's say you have a computer and you really want to access the Steam library. This is kind of a big one for me and for a lot of people. PCVR is tied almost exclusively to Steam. And don't get me wrong, Steam is great. There's a huge library of games and there's always lots of sales and bundles, so you can get really good deals on those games. And I don't have anything negative to say about Steam. But the standalone headsets like the Quest 3 give you access to meta library that you can't access with a PCVR headset. and then you can just plug one into a computer and get access to that Steam VR library, right? Meta, whether you love it or hate it, has been making pretty big moves in VR app and game development for a while now. They've acquired a bunch of studios like Beat Games, Ready at Dawn, Downpour Interactive, Big Box VR. And I'm not going to sit here and say that those are like the most popular VR experiences. Some of them are popular, but it does seem a lot like the developers are either financially incentivized to be on the Meta platform, or they're hedging their bets against PCVR already. And they're going to move to be exclusively on the Meta platform, or they're just going to be heavily optimized for Meta. So with the Quest 3, you can play Meta exclusives and Steam VR titles thanks to AirLink or Virtual Desktop or just a USB-C connection, and you're not locked into that ecosystem. For me, that kind of flexibility on the standalone headsets really does make it the ideal solution. Setting up a PC VR headset can be a bit like building a PC or trying to solve a puzzle that's got lots of moving parts that could fail at any time. As somebody who used to run a VR arcade, I can tell you that everything fails eventually, and the more components there are in the system, the more potential failures there are. So anything from drivers refusing to install on the devices to Windows updates crashing the VR software, base stations losing tracking for no reason or being improperly set up or just failing outright. And then, of course, there's cable failures. We'll talk about that more in a second. Standalone headsets, on the other hand, they just work. You pull them out of the box, you connect them to Wi-Fi, and you're playing whatever you want to play or doing whatever you want to do in like a matter of minutes. When we did our Quest 3S unboxing, it was 20 minutes maybe from walking out of the store with it to playing on it. And think about this for a second. If you're trying to set up VR for family or friends, standalone's really the only practical option. Imagine buying multiple Valve Index setups. Each needs its own PC, base stations, and then some consistent troubleshooting. And all that costs you $1,500 at a bare minimum. Or for the same price, you could grab 4 Quest 3S's and have everybody in your family playing together within minutes. I mean, that's just not a contest. And that sort of thing highlights one of the big problems with PCR for me. VR really seems to be at its core a social experience, or at least a social experiment. When we used to run the arcade, the most popular experiences were always the multiplayer experiences. It was the competitive games, it was the PvP things. We would throw people into a game like Blade and Sorcerer Super Hot. If they had never played VR, they'd come out of it and they'd go, oh, that was a cool experience. I really enjoyed that. But the things that really moved people to purchase a headset, moved people to come back to the arcade time and time again, was those things that they could do with families and friends. So from my perspective, and maybe it's biased because of my interaction with the VR community, it's always really seemed like the multiplayer experiences are what pull more people into the community. That's what keeps people here and makes people want to be here. I want to jump back to something I was talking about just a second ago with the hardware and the troubleshooting problems, is the cables. The smartest thing that Meta ever did was just put a straight USB-C connection on their headsets for data and charging. When we ran Sixth Dimension, cable failures were a constant headache. I mean, it was a persistent issue that we struggled with all the time. For years, we had the Vive Pro as our main headset, and Vive Pro cables, when HTC didn't have them in stock, especially 2020 and 2021, those cables on eBay, because eBay was the only place to get them, could cost anywhere between $80 and $200. And you had to get them from eBay because HTC didn't sell them for the longest time, and they may be discontinued now. I'm not sure. I've not looked into it in a while. And then you got the Valve Index, which is even worse. These cables right now on eBay sell for $100, and that's just the main cable. The secondary Trident cable is $45. So if this cable gets chewed up by a dog or sucked up in a vacuum cleaner and ruined, it's a $150 fine. Which leads me to my final gripe about the cable issue, which is the PlayStation headsets. The PSVR and the PSVR2, as popular as those units are, and as nice as the PSVR2 is for the price, it has no aftermarket or secondary purchase option for cables. I've had dozens and dozens of customers reach out to me about repairing cables for these or replacing cables for these. Sony won't replace them if they're damaged, only if they fail under warranty. And emphasis on the fail thing there, because if it's damaged, then it voids the warranty. So if it gets chewed up by a dog, something bad happens to it, you're kind of out of luck. And they have not, and as far as I know, don't have any plans to sell them as replacement parts. I've dug around for years at this point, and I've never been able to find a cable that wasn't just pulled from a different unit. So if you're thinking about getting the PSVR 2 and you're going, okay, I can use this on my PlayStation and I can use this for PCVR, eventually something will happen to that cable. It'll wear out or it'll get damaged, and now you're just stuck with a $350 paperweight. And you can't even sell it, because who would buy a headset that you can't get a cable for? It's useless. Now, that's not to say that standalone units like the Quest 3 don't have their issues, but if something breaks on this unit, I can fix it. Nobody that I'm aware of can fix the cables. And for me, that's a big selling point. So there it is. That's why I'll probably never buy another PCVR headset. I love PCVR when it was the best option, but the standalone headsets just in many ways have surpassed PCVR, and I don't see PCVR being able to recover from that. There's still a lot of talk about things like the Deckard coming to market sometime this century, if you believe the rumors. But even that is probably going to end up being a standalone headset, or at least standalone capable. It's not going to be like the Valve Index. So if that doesn't put a nail in the coffin of PCVR, I just don't know what does. But I want to hear from you. Would you still buy a PCVR headset today? And if you would, why? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I am genuinely curious. I want to know. And if you can, do me a favor, like, subscribe, follow, maybe share this video with somebody who's still really into PCVR. They're still on that bandwagon, and maybe they've got good reasons that they'd like to share with us, because I'm just not there anymore. Anyways, thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you on the next one.